The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
You are now tuned in to the PA Power Podcast, featuring Jeff Upson and Eric Knopsnyder. PA Power Wrestling. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
What's going on, wrestling fans? I'm your host, Jeff Upson, joined as always by Eric Knopsnyder, and you are now tuned in to the PA Power Podcast. And Eric, this is it, man. This is the week that we've all been waiting for. It all comes down to this week in Hershey.
Yeah, the season's gone by so fast. Hard to believe, but you're right. It's States Week, and can't wait to get to Hershey and get it going.
Well, it started off with a bang for us at PA Power Wrestling, because on Monday, last night, we released the Spencer Lee movie that we had been working on for quite a number of months now. It seems like forever ago that we actually went to France and filmed Spencer. Would you agree, Eric?
Yeah, it does. A long time ago, but watching it takes you back, for me at least, to see all that and just the great memories that we had there, and what an awesome time it was.
Yeah, and the reception I've been hearing is all great for the movie. It's an hour long. You can actually watch it on PAPowerWrestling.com. We had a couple hiccups actually in the process. I'd originally slated to have it released on Amazon Prime, which it still is, but it takes 3 to 5 days for it to go through review and publishing and all this stuff that I was not aware of, because I'm not a movie producer. I'm simply a wrestling fanatic. So it's going to be on Amazon Prime eventually, but for right now, because we wanted to get it out, my main objective was to have it out for states for this week. So it is out on the website, PAPowerWrestling.com, and you click on the Spencer Lee movie. It's $6 to buy it, and you have it for the rest of your life. You can watch it 100 times. I watched it about 2 or 3 times last night myself while I'm doing some work as well. So, Eric, what did you think?
Oh, I thought it was awesome. Jeff, you did a great job with it. Our editor, she did a great job with it. You guys were able to come up with some additional footage, some additional interviews after we got back, talking to Spencer and his family, talking to Jody Stripmatter. Just a great job by you guys to really get in depth of what Spencer's life has been like, how he's gotten to this point, and then a look at that dramatic comeback that he had in France.
Right, and this is really just to showcase Spencer, because this is the last time a lot of fans are going to see him for a while, and it's really, he deserves to be celebrated. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for people to witness a guy like Spencer. They don't come around so often like him, and I think it's definitely a good way to memorialize him and his wrestling career here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the kids, the ones that have wrestled him, they're going to be telling their grandkids, hey, I wrestled Spencer Lee. This is, as you said, this is certainly a once in a generation talent. But I mean, 3 world titles already. It's just crazy what he's been able to accomplish.
So if you haven't already, go ahead to PA Power Wrestling, check out the movie. I think it's worth the money and worth the time to watch that. But we've got some other things to take care of, Eric. We've got some guests coming on. We got Cole Matthews coming on from Reynolds, and I'm told that he's joined by a friend and a teammate, Bo Bayless, who's going to sneak on the podcast as well. And we're also going to go through some predictions. We're going to sort through the brackets. I don't know about you, Eric, but I've been dissecting these brackets up and down, just trying to look at what is the most exciting matchups that we have coming your way on Thursday. So I'm super pumped. I'm feeling a little bit better, Eric. I was a little bit down over the weekend. I caught something at Can and Mac, and I thought, man, this is going to be a rough couple days, but I'm powering through it, Eric. I'm
glad to hear that. I know it was a little bit of a rough go for me at times the past couple of weeks, and it's tough to be at 100% there, but we'll get you back healthy and get you ready for the state tournament.
All right, Eric, so let's just go through and really dissect these brackets. We'll start out with AA at 106 pounds. Does anything jump off the page at you? Anything that you think, especially in the first or early rounds, that you like?
I would say in the first round, Josh Boozle from Mount Union, who is a guy that I've seen a little bit over the past couple of weeks. He's got Stephen McGarvey from Fort LaBeouf. And I think Boozle's probably the favorite here, but he was a little disappointed last week. Thought he was going to be able to come back and beat Caden Cassidy the second time around, and wasn't able to do it. So it'll be interesting to see how the mindset is as he's heading in here to the first round and facing a pretty decent kid in Stephen McGarvey.
Yeah, and these are two upperclassmen, Boozle a junior and McGarvey a senior, and they're 4-8 in the state currently ranked. Josh Boozle is a fourth state ranked in the state number 4. And, that's a tough opening round draw for both of them. Talk about there's another match that I sort of have circled is Alan Simmons from Cambria Heights, sophomore, going against Anthony Glassell from Brockway, who's a freshman. That's a number 9. Simmons is 9, and Glassell is a 7 in the state. So another early round matchup where some top 10 ranked guys going at it.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to see Glassell yet, but Simmons I'm quite familiar with. I mean, this is a really deep District 6, 106 weight class. So even though he's third in the Southwest there, he's pretty battle tested because you've got Cassidy there, you've got Boozle, you've got Baylor Shunk from Penns Valley, who's very good. Just a really deep weight class. So he's definitely seen some pretty top-notch guys over the past couple weeks.
All right, Eric, who do you like? Who do you like coming out from that top half?
Boy, it's tough to go against Bo Bayless. What we saw out of him at the Ultimate Duels looked really good there.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at Cassidy. I mean, and he just dominated Cassidy on his feet.
He did.
It wasn't much of a contest there. I'm sure Cassidy. I think Cassidy is a much better wrestler than he was back then. I think he showed that was beating Boozle like he did. And grinding out that match, really fighting for it. So, but I think Bayless still has to be poised to get that state championship.
Yeah, I think he's the favorite. Nate Smith, to me, on the bottom half, looks like probably the guy to beat.
Yeah, I would say Nate Smith, Josh Boozle, Jacob Blair from Muncie, freshman. But I would be surprised to see anyone other than Nate Smith there in the finals. Going up to 113 pounds, Eric, jumping off the page at me right away is ZJ Ward from Freedom and Wyatt Lutz from Montoursville in that opening round match at 113 pounds. ZJ Ward comes in ranked 9th in the state, and Wyatt Lutz comes in ranked 3rd in the state. Both these guys are very, very tough wrestlers. Lutz is a junior who was a state qualifier a year ago. Any other ones that jump off at you?
Frankly, I like one of the pigtails with Cal Schaffstall of Tri-Valley and Garrett Cornell of Everett. Garrett Cornell was a guy that was a regional runner-up last year and looked really solid all year, and then struggled at the regional tournament. So I'm going to be interested to see how he bounces back from that. And, is this the guy that we've seen most of the time for the past 2 years, or is it the guy that struggled a little bit in the regional tournament?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Yeah, absolutely, and especially going against a freshman like Cal Schaffstall, who's a younger brother. His brother was pretty tough himself for Tri-Valley, so definitely a match to keep an eye out on. Another one that I think is going to be a huge matchup. These are going to be 2 returning state medalists meeting in the first round. That's very rare to happen. But that's number 12 Richie Markukulis from Notre Dame Green Pond going against Keelan Kunzelman from Brookville. Kunzelman was 5th in the state last year. Markukulis was 8th in the state. So you got 2 state medalists meeting in that first round.
Yeah, and that's one of those that you look at the record and you say, wow, Markulis is 40-3, whereas Kunzelman's only 29-11. But you look at that Brookville schedule and who they wrestle in the Ultimate Duels and other places, and I mean, you can have obviously a very solid kid like Kunzelman coming in with 11 losses. Just shows that he's battle tested.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Kunzelman's a 5th place. He has already a medal to his name. Clearly those 11 losses, Powerade, Ultimate Duels. They've been a lot of different places. So definitely one, and then whoever wins that, they're most likely going to feed into Jarrett Lane. So just another tough upper top half of the bracket there. Tyga Evans for Susquehanna Township comes in number 10 in the state. He's a Southeast Regional runner-up. And Isaac Crowell from Fort LaBeouf as a junior. He comes in ranked number 11th in the state. So both these wrestlers top 11 in the state. I think we have a lot of good matchups here at 113.
Yeah, definitely. I think Lane is certainly the favorite there. Bottom half, I'm not sure. You like Chase Shields coming out, another Bishop McDevitt kid?
Yeah, I do like Chase Shields. I mean, he's been pretty solid throughout the year. He's been tested by some of the best wrestlers in the state and nation, going to tournaments like Powerade, like Escape the Rock, and King of the Mountain. So, I mean, Chase is definitely going to have his hands full with some of these guys on the bottom half. Austin Burkett or AJ Burkett Burkhart from Athens is a guy that he's most likely going to see in that quarterfinal round, I think. ZJ Ward and Wyatt Lutz, the winner there, is going to have a good shot to get into the semifinals possibly. So, I think Jarrett Lane is pretty far ahead of the class here. I think he's definitely going to be favored to win this championship, but it'll be interesting to see if Chase Shields he's a returning state medalist, and it's really his to take there in the bottom half.
All right, moving on to 120. What jumps out at you there, Jeff?
Well, right off the bat here, I'm looking at a few matches because Bronson Garber losing at the Southeast Regionals really threw a wrench into a lot of different things, and it really screwed up some things. Bronson Garber was a guy who we had ranked number 1 in the state all year, basically at 120, other than when Gavin Teasdale dropped down to 120 for Powerade. But other than that, Garber's been number 1 in the state. He was undefeated up until regionals when he dropped a match in the semifinals to Billy Ware from Northwestern. And I was surprised to see that, but so that opens up a very good first round match with Colin Pisone from E.L. Myers and Bronson Garber from Upper Dauphin going at it. That's a number 6 Colin Pisone versus number 8 Bronson Garber. But really, that Garber is only 8 because of that upset he took.
Yeah, so that really should be a good one in the first round.
Yeah, I think so. And Gavin Park sitting up there on top, the Northwest Regional Champion, Gavin Park. He's a senior going to Clarion next year, 39-3 on the season. I like him. And really what that does is that opens up the bottom half a little bit more because you got Cole Roan from Benton, who is the number 1 guy ranked in the state now that Garber dropped. He was a state qualifier last year. Park was 7th in the state, but this is going to be a funky bracket. I think I really do, and a match that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on is Kenny Kaiser from Sagertown going against Darren Urick from Penns Valley. Darren Urick, we know, I'm sure you can talk all day about, but Kenny Kaiser is a very, very solid freshman from Sagertown who's going to upset a few people, I think.
Yeah, this, as you said, it's pretty interesting, kind of top-heavy. I would think that Cole Roan should have the path to the finals there in the bottom half. But I know you told me before that you think Bronson Garber has a shot in the top half of it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I saw him a couple weeks ago at the District 3 Championship. He looked strong. He looked tough. He's been here before. I don't know. I just have a feeling that that loss he took is going to wake him up. I think it's going to realize, hey, this is not going to be easy. I'm going to have to really work hard to get this championship. So I do think that he's going to end up winning the championship.
That's pretty interesting pick there.
I mean, it's not that interesting, Eric. He was number 1 in the state for the entire year up until last week. I mean,
I get it, but this is my first year working with the rankings with you, so it's interesting to see, how a guy like that falls to number 8, even though he was number 1 for most of the year, as you said.
Well, I mean, just based on the fact that he lost to a guy who was lower than him, and you have to give respect to those guys that like Gavin Park and Cole Roan who won their regions, and Josh Jones from Saucon Valley who won that region. So, I think you could make the argument he could be 5. He could be number 5.
Yeah. No, I'm not arguing with you about it.
No, you are arguing with me, Eric. Who do you pick? Who do you pick at 120?
Who am I picking at 120? I am gonna.
You're just gonna pick a name, aren't you?
Man, it is tough because you're right. You make a good point about Bronson Garber. I'm not sure. I like Jacob Powers, but I don't think he's at that level yet. Gavin Park. I'm going to go with Park.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, that's not a bad choice. He's a 2-time state qualifier, 1-time state medalist, senior. Been to Hershey, like I said, twice before, so he's no stranger to it. No Cole Roan. Love for Cole Roan there. You have in the finals.
That's actually you're right. I was looking at the top path, and all right, I'll stick with Park, but I think that Roan certainly could be the guy there.
Okay, I'm excited now because it's almost like we're battling against each other in this one.
We are,
but fair enough.
I got the first pick at 126.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm sure you do. Yeah, 126. Gavin Teasdale, undefeated in his career, 2-time state champion, looking for his 3rd state championship. There's no one that's going to come close to him. No. As much as we'd like to build it up and say what a great tournament it's going to be there at 126, he's just in a different level. He really is. But what I like about this bracket is now the guy who he beat in the finals last year is on his half, Colin Myers. He's going to have a tough first round matchup. Colin Myers, who's coming in number 3 in the state, is going to have Joe Klock from Benton in that first round. Myers finished 3rd in his region. Klock was a regional runner-up. But both of these guys were medalists last year. Klock finished 7th. Colin Myers was a runner-up last year to Gavin Teasdale. And then you got Tanner Ball from Pequay Valley, who's up there. He's 37-2 on the season. I got to see him at the District 3 tournament. He looked very, very solid. He comes in ranked number 4 in the state. So you got you got ranked number 1, number 3, number 4, all on that top half. And number 5, Ty Varndell from Cambridge Springs. So this top half is pretty loaded.
Yeah, that's a very difficult path. Not only do you have Teasdale, but as you said, you got those other guys with Klock and Myers. Like, that's a great first round matchup.
Yeah, I mean, 2 returning state medalists up there. Ty Varndell, who's making his first trip to the state tournament. He's a sophomore this year. He won a tough Northwest region. On the bottom half, Austin Clayball from Bermudian Springs. He's the one who's been able to squeak by Ball and Myers. Clayball comes in ranked number 2 in the state. He's making his 3rd trip to the state championships. Never came away with a medal, so I know he's going to be looking for one here. And I really do like his chances on the bottom half to come out and get to the finals.
Yeah, I agree with you there. No disrespect to Brian Earlston from Line Mountain, but I do like Austin Clayball there.
Even Gage Bayless here, the senior from Reynolds. Dylan Jeffrey from Burrell is a senior, the Iceman. He can upset some people, but yeah, I think Clayball is poised for, and he's shown it in the last couple of weeks, winning District 3 and the Southeast region. Going up to 132. This is one where, like 26, everyone's going to say, well, Brian Courtney is going to win this one. There's some guys that are going to push him, though.
Yeah, Brian Courtney's an interesting guy to watch, but, I don't know. He's definitely the favorite. I'm not sure. He's kind of like Cole Matthews, and he's so hard to finish on.
Yeah, I agree, but we saw KJ Fenstermacher. He was able to break through at the Escape the Rock and finish on him. But Brian Courtney's obviously he's last year after winning that state championship. Let's put it this way: he's been in the state finals twice before. Never finished lower than 3rd. He was 3rd as a freshman, runner-up as a sophomore, won that loaded bracket as a junior. Look, he's gonna win the state championship unless something freakishly happens. Something crazy like an asteroid comes and hits the Earth. he's gonna win a state championship, in my opinion. But I think some guys like Carnell Andrews, he had a great regional tournament. You got to see it there. I think he's gonna be gunning for some people, and even guys like Tyler Griffiths or Gabe Miller from Pequay Valley, who's undefeated at 40-0.
Yeah, Gabe Miller down there at the bottom. Caleb Dowling, he's a guy that is a really, I know you were all over him on the top incoming freshman, and with good reason. He's been outstanding, and he's pushed Carnell Andrews. I know Andrews beat him, solidly, but didn't major him. I mean, Dowling hangs around in those matches, and I'll be interested to see how he does this weekend.
Yeah, I think he's going to do well. He's got a favorable matchup in the first round matchup with RJ Diskerl from Lake Liam, but Yeah, I think Dowling's going to have a good performance. Tyler Griffiths, another one I'm keeping an eye on. He was a state medalist as a freshman, hasn't been on the podium since. And Hunter Michaels from Reynolds, also a stud there for Reynolds, coming in as a junior, 33-5 on the season. I like this 132 bracket. I think a lot can transpire that may surprise us. So I'm definitely anxious to see, especially a guy like Gabe Miller. I got to see him at the District 3 tournament. He was a state qualifier last year. And this year, he's a funky wrestler, the way he wrestles. He wins a lot of matches like 11-8, 11-7. Like, he'll let guys back in, but then he's tough on top, and he's fun to watch. So, yeah, 132, but you got to give it to Brian Courtney.
Yeah, who do you have in the bottom half? Do you like Miller?
Yeah, I like Miller coming out, but like I said, I think you could make the argument that maybe Carnell Andrews and Brian Courtney could be at the finals as well. I don't know. Obviously, the top half I think has a little bit more into it. Now, the matchup that I'm looking forward to the most has to be at 138 between two of the biggest names in wrestling, not only in Pennsylvania but the nation as well, Max Murin and Cole Matthews.
Yeah, this was one. They were in the same weight class last year. That bracket that we'll be talking about for years to come, with Brian Courtney and Jonathan Gabriel in it as well. And this one isn't quite as big on the star power, but anytime you've got Max Murin and Cole Matthews in the same weight class, that's a pretty good start.
Oh, it's a great start. I mean, let's not confuse it. These two are both state champions 2 years ago. Max Murin is 150-5 in his career. Cole Matthews of 127-12. Max Murin was fifth as a freshman, state champion as a sophomore, runner-up last year, and he's looking to become a two-time state champion with a win this week at Hershey. But he you know what I like about Max is he's been tested. He wrestled Jimmy Hoffman, he wrestled Brian Courtney, and you know, if everything goes as planned, he's going to have Cole Matthews.
Yeah, but you know what? There's depth in this weight class too. It's not just those two, because you've got Sammy Hepler from Tri-Valley, who's 31-1 and very solid, and then another one of those freshmen, Thane Lawrence from Fraser, who's been really impressive. Murin didn't blow him away at the Southwest Regional Final.
No, he didn't. And I've been high on Thane Lawrence all season, and I think he's going to have a good tournament. But if Sammy Hepler and Thane Lawrence do advance into that quarterfinals, that's going to be one to watch for sure. Hepler is a guy who was a state medalist his freshman year. He finished seventh. He's made it to states twice after that, but hasn't come away with a medal. But he beat Brian Courtney in the offseason after he won that crazy bracket. So definitely a guy who's capable of coming out and you know, doing some damage. But I don't see anything other than a Cole Matthews Max Murin final.
No, I agree with you. And the interesting thing to me will be, as we said before, Matthews, like Brian Courtney, is very difficult to finish on. And that was where Murin struggled last year with Courtney, was finishing. This year he was able to do it, was able to beat him at the Thomas tournament in Bedford, was able to finish, I believe, twice on him and get takedowns. So whether or not he can actually finish on Cole Matthews, that's going to be the determining factor if they do meet.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we're going to have a chance to talk with Cole Matthews here in a little bit after we're done with Double A, and I'd like to hear what he has to say about his matchup. Any predictions here? Max Murin, Cole Matthews, who are you leaning towards? I don't want to put you on the spot, Eric, but
I got to go with Murin. You know, he's a guy I've covered his whole career, and you know, I've seen what he is able to do. I can't pick against him here, but man, Cole Matthews is just so much fun to watch, and those scrambles that he gets in. If these two do meet, it's going to be an awesome final to watch.
I agree with you there, Eric, and you know, I'll go with Cole since you went with Max, but you know, obviously they're neck and neck. At 145 pounds, one of the more open brackets, I would say, but not if you ask John Pippa from Bishop McDevitt. He's a guy who's definitely poised for a state championship title. He's been in the finals twice before. He was a finalist as a freshman, and then he was a finalist last year. Ran into Taylor Orts from Brookville. this guy is on a mission to win a state championship, but he has a loss to Justin McCoy at the King of the Mountain, which is the reason why he's number 2 in the state, and McCoy's the top ranked guy.
And you saw that one. That was a fantastic match, was it not?
McCoy came back and just looked great in that match. And let's not forget, McCoy's won a tough region. He had to come out of that Southwest region with Dallas Bolsack, Cody Kamara, 2 returning state medalists. But and the same with John Pippa. John Pippa was pushed in his regions. He had some tough competition at the Southeast region, but I think Pippa is just really poised, and I think he's on a mission to get to the state. Not only do I think he gets to the state finals, I think he comes away with a state championship.
So no chance that Kamara there in the quarterfinals knocks him off?
I just don't think so. I think Pippa's on a different. I don't know. I think it's going to be a good match, but I just have a feeling that Pippa's he's really prepared for this. He's tasted defeat twice before. Like you remember at Team States when McCoy got bumped up to 52 and Pippa had to wrestle 45, and he was visibly shaking, visibly upset because he wanted to wrestle McCoy so bad. So just seeing him, he's ready for a state championship. Now he's gonna have his hands full. Let's not. I mean, don't misquote me on this. I mean, no,
I'm not. And I'm trying to go back. I thought it was actually the other way. I thought that McDevitt made the decision to bump up
you're right.
Pippa.
You're right. That
and correct. he was very upset because he wanted to go with McCoy.
Yeah,
it was that way that for the team he had to bump up.
Correct. You're right. Yeah, and I do apologize. It was McDevitt who bumped him away from McCoy to get that victory. Obviously with the bonus points, but he was like chest bumping Dean Shields, his head coach, and like trying to get out on the mat. Like, don't hold me back, coach, hold me back. So, I mean, you look at the top half. Cody Kamara finished 3rd in the state last year. Logan Bennett from Milton is 4th in the state. Dallas Bolsack from South Park was a state medalist. You got John Mott from Commodore Perry, who's a regional champion. The bottom half, Justin McCoy is also in a tough area. Nathan Halbert from Palisades, who pushed John Pippa in the regional match. Chase Houck from Reynolds, and Todd Lane from Southern Columbia. Todd Lane's a state runner-up as well. So a couple guys here with some very high finishes at Hershey.
Yeah, it'll be interesting here. For me, I see the Pippa McCoy rematch, and based on what you've said and kind of how McCoy had to rally the last time, I'd probably lean towards Pippa, but should be a fun one to watch throughout.
Yeah, they didn't meet up at the Powerade the week following the King of Mountain. Pippa did finish higher on the podium than McCoy. Actually, McCoy didn't. I don't believe he medaled at Powerade. That because that was a pretty loaded 145 bracket, but he did beat Kamara there. He's had 3 wins over Cody Kamara, so clearly he's ready to go. 145 in Double A is one that I'm going to be following along closely because you just have so much talent with 5 returning state medalists here. Definitely a lot of fun to watch. Going up to 152, another one that I think could be a barn burner and also a rematch is Edmund Ruth versus Robbie Patrick.
Yeah, that should be a good one. They met earlier in the year with Ruth getting the win there. It'll be interesting to see. I've interviewed Robert Patrick so many times over the past year, and I almost feel bad about it because every time it seems like I bring up last year's state performance, and it was disappointing for him. He didn't place the year after being in the finals as a freshman, and so I'm sure he is just chomping at the bit to get to Hershey and get back and try to get back to those finals as he did his freshman year.
Yeah, and when we interviewed him, what was it, last week, and we asked, what's different this year, he said, I have a loss to Edmund Ruth. Now I have something to avenge. I mean, he's right. He has something to prove, being 35-1. Edmund Ruth comes in at 36-0. Edmund Ruth is wrestling in Double A for the first year. Last year he was 8th in state as a freshman in Triple A. But let's not kid ourselves. There's some other very talented guys in this bracket. Caleb Clymer from Northwestern Lehigh, who I think is definitely one of the top wrestlers we've seen. Last year he had a shortened season last year because of an injury. He actually got to the state semis before injury defaulting out, where he finished in 6th place. So Caleb Clymer is one that could ruin someone's day here, but he's going to have his handful in the first round match. Josh Haley from Wyalusing. That's a number 8 Josh Haley going against number 3 Caleb Clymer in the first round.
Yeah, you've got that one, and then the winner of that gets Robert Patrick probably in the quarterfinals, and then, oh, by the way, maybe Caleb Hedrick in the semis.
Yeah, Caleb Hedrick is another one who's a state medalist. The last year as a sophomore, he came away with an 8th place medal. So a lot of firepower down on the bottom half. The top half, you got Caden Winters from Athens, who I got to see actually up the rock. I thought he looked very tough. Brock Beidel from Martinsburg, and then just John Dale. I mean, could John Dale, could he come out and surprise a few people from that pigtail round? I don't know, but I do know that definitely it's a good chance we see Edmund Ruth and Robbie Patrick going at it. But anything's possible as we saw.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm taking Caden Winters to knock off Ruth in the top half of the bracket.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I don't have any logic behind it.
Yeah.
It might not be a good idea, but I'm
right.
I've just from what you've talked about Winters and some of the results I've seen. Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb there.
Yeah, but Ruth is he's just so strong. He's so athletic. He's so he's so good on his feet. The fact that he owns that win over Robert Patrick is enough for me to say that I think he's the favorite. But regardless, we will find out. So that's why they wrestle the matches. Thank God that they don't listen to us. And 160 going up to 160. My gosh, who's going to this is the weight where I think we've had the most changes at the top of the rankings. There's someone different there almost every week, it seems like. Right now, going into the state tournament, Ryan Farber from Northern Lehigh comes in as the top-ranked guy. He's a state 6th place finisher from a year ago, and he did win the Southeast region. But then you got guys like Creighton Edsel from Wyalusing. Creighton Edsel is a 5th place finisher last year at the state tournament. And then Larry Brown from Moshannon Valley, who I know you were big on and won a very tough Southwest region.
Well, yeah, he's done it 2 weeks in a row. He knocked off Seth Bainey, who had been number 1, and then 2 weeks ago was able to beat Morgan Dermer of Chestnut Ridge in the finals. So Larry Brown really wrestling well here in the postseason. I mean, he's been wrestling well all year. You don't want to take anything away from him. He's only got 1 loss on the season, but really proving it in the district and regional finals.
Yeah, this is a weight where, I mean, it's a crapshoot. Wherever you look, it's just there's so much that could happen. I mean, I just see so many possibilities here. You got Gage Arnold, Hunter Kennedy in the top half. Like you said, Larry Brown, Seth Bainey, who was number 1 in the state. He has a win over Creighton Edsel. And Ryan Farber from Northern Lehigh. And Morgan Dermer. I mean, just talk about the firepower there at 160 pounds. It's going to be fun to watch, and see how they finish out. But it's more wide open than a lot of people would say.
So who do you like?
This is one where, I mean, anything's possible. I mean, you look at this, I just really do think anything's possible. I think Larry Brown could sneak out and get to the state finals. And what's interesting to me is a guy like Brian Schermeyer from DeLone Catholic. He was a state qualifier last year, but he's been banged up a little bit. He comes in ranked number 20th in the state. It was a Southeast 6 because of some injuries, but depending on how he is physically, he could challenge Cal Halliday and that pigtail and Larry Brown in the next round. But I think I'm going to go with Larry Brown on the top half. And this may surprise you, Gavin Wilkerson from Reynolds on the bottom half.
Actually, Gavin Wilkerson was going to be my pick to win it.
Okay, well,
But I'm at the same time I look at it and say, man, he could lose to Seth Bainey in the quarters.
He could lose to Seth Bainey in the quarters. He could lose to Ryan Farber in the semis. I mean, the possibilities are endless, Eric. That's what I'm saying here. So, I mean, you're not wrong when picking anybody. I mean, seriously, there's just so many.
Well, we're going to be wrong.
Well,
in
yeah, I mean,
picking
yeah,
somebody,
obviously, we're going to be wrong. But there's just so much to go from here. It's just, I love it. I love this kind of bracket. And you know, having guys in here like Cody Jenkins from South Allegheny, a state medalist a year ago, you know, he's in the pigtail round. Could he upset Ryan Farber on the bottom half if he wins his pigtail match? I don't know. That's how you know much depth there is here at 160.
Yeah, and then you've got Dermer in the quarterfinals for Farber if he wins that first one.
Yeah, it's
possibly. Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, I'm psyched. 170. Definitely, this is all Jacob Oliver right here. 40-1 on the season. His only loss is to Nino Bonacorsi up at 182 in the King of Mountain Finals. Jacob Oliver, guy who was in the state finals twice before, has won the state championship, never finished lower than fourth on the podium in his career. You gotta like his chances of getting that championship again.
Definitely. Although I'm interested in seeing how the freshman Gage Garcia, if they meet up in the semis, how that goes.
Yeah, the freshman.
I'm not saying that the Gage Garcia is gonna beat Jacob Oliver. I just want to see, you know, can he hang with him? How can he do?
You know, I definitely think he's going to be able to hang with Gage Garcia is one of the best wrestlers in the bracket here, even as a freshman, being so young, but just such a strong athlete. My gosh, I mean, his father was a 3-time state champion. He's following in that footsteps, 19-1 on the season, still coming back, you know, into form after hurting his ankle in football, where he was leading the state in rushing yards, I believe. So yeah, Jacob Oliver could end up seeing him in the semifinals, depending on how things go. But that bottom half, it looks a little bit more wide open, in my opinion. Dalton Group is going to, 34-1 on the season, a regional champion. I actually had him going into the finals last year. He finished 7th in the state. But the juniors, very, very tough, 110-18 in his career. So you got to like his chances. And then Jared McGill, who is number 2 in the state, all the way up to 170. He was 6th place in the state last year, down at 106?
Almost, 132.
Yeah, he was pretty light, though. So what are your thoughts here at 170, Eric?
I like McGill to get to the semis, and then I'm not sure, Dalton Group or McGill. I think that's probably a toss-up match. I might lean towards Group there.
Okay.
I'm not real confident about that, but
yeah, you don't sound too.
For my pick, yeah, I would take Group.
I mean, you sound scared. I mean, you always sound scared, but I mean, you sound even more so about this Dalton Group pick. I mean, I picked him to go to the finals last year, and it did not happen. So I'll probably go with Jared McGill as well. But Joel Lisi from Reynolds, let's not sleep on him. Number 4 in the state, is a state qualifier a year ago, has such good training partners in that room like Gavin Wilkerson. So he's a guy that you're not going to want to sleep on. Really a lot of fun here yet again at 170.
Definitely. You look at these and they're intriguing matchups even before the semis, but then you get there and you're like, man, I don't know where to go here. Yeah,
you just get lost, right? Even the people that study, I think that's a problem with some of these. I overanalyze everything. And we're going to see that when we go through AAA as well. So 182, Luke Funk, he sort of got screwed a little bit on the classification points because they forgot that he finished 4th in the state last year. Oopsie. And they did fix that, so now he is the top seed at 182, which separates him and Cody Mulligan, who were both state medalists a year ago. So Luke Funk stands at the top here. Luke is a guy that we've had in the top 2 of the state almost all year. And Cody Mulligan from Sagertown, Powerade runner-up. He's been a guy who's been very successful in his junior campaign. He was 6th in state last year, but he actually injury defaulted to that position on the podium. But this is a bracket that, again, there's some bracket busters. A guy by the name of Dom Fundy, who I'm forever in debt to because I did not give him the respect that he deserved. He was completely overlooked on the top incoming freshman last year, which rarely happens, as you know, Eric. But he was overlooked, and he came out and had a great freshman campaign, was a state qualifier. And this year he's undefeated, 36-0 on the season, and he's on the top half there.
He is. He's another one of those guys that's so hard to take down. You can get in deep on him. You think you're in good shape, and he's probably as good as anybody that I've seen at cutting the corner and just kind of scooting around behind for two. And guys just kind of shake their heads and like wonder, how did I get in so deep? And he's got two.
Yeah, right. And then it's almost like Cole Matthews, but a little bit heavier. So you look at this bracket, and there's a lot of studs here. A lot of guys who actually own state medals. You look at this in the bracket. Christian Hutzel from Myersdale, he was a state medalist last year. Zach Zimmerman from Troy, he was a state medalist last year, finishing 5th in the state. Jared Mooney from Palmerton was 8th in the state. As we said, Luke Funk was 4th, and Mulligan was 6th. So guys here that are expecting to improve on their finishes from last year. And that's not going to happen for some of them just based on the draw and the brackets here. But you look at that first round matchup, Jared Mooney from Palmerton, 32-1 on the season. His only loss was last week in the regional finals. He lost to Luke Funk in the finals. That was his first loss of his season. He comes in, and right off the bat, he is Anthony Morrow from Burrell. Talk about a hammer first round matchup.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough one. Even the guys in the pigtails here can be dangerous. Austin Barber from Johnstown was, I believe, undefeated going into the regional tournament. Noah Selesky from Brookville. I mean, there's some really tough guys in the pigtails in this bracket.
Yeah, the Southwest region is definitely a strong region in this one. Dominic DeLuca from Derry. He's going to have Devin Evans from Susquehanna Township. DeLuca comes in 9th in the state. Evans is 6th in the state. As you said, Austin Barber, he's going to have his hands full with Andrew Shadliski from Lewisburg, who was a state qualifier last year. Julian Goring from Fort LaBeouf is a sophomore state qualifier. So just a lot of, like you said, a lot of depth here, and a lot of guys who I said have some medals already to their name. So definitely going to be a fun one to watch. Who do you like in this one?
Oh, Cody Mulligan, I think. I like Dominic Fundy, but Mulligan has looked really solid this year.
Do you think that Fundy comes out on the top? And
I'm going to go with Fundy. I'm going to go with Fundy over Funk.
All right. I'm going to go with Funk, although I shouldn't because last time I went against Dom Fundy.
Do you remember the Dominic Fundy wrestles?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Luke Funk's he's been he really impressed me at team states this year for Northern Lebanon. He's been pretty clutch this year. Dom Fundy, obviously a very, very tough competitor. I don't know. I will see. I like Cody Mulligan too. So Luke Funk, Cody Mulligan finals, I guess, is what I'm going with.
All right.
But we'll see. 195. This was a bracket that was going to be a little bit more interesting, but Cole and I elected to go up to 220. Gavin Hoffman, the returning state champion, is a junior from Montoursville, 38-1 on the season. His only losses to state champion Jake Woodley and the PowerAid Championship. So you got to like Gavin Hoffman, sort of poised to get back on top of that podium. But there's a guy named Anthony Waters who was in the state finals a year ago who's pretty good as well.
Yeah, and don't forget, he pushed Oliver, who we were just raving about a couple weight classes ago, into overtime there and could have just as easily been a defending state champ here. So Walters is certainly in that range, but like you, I think that Gavin Hoffman is probably the guy to beat here.
You look at some of the first-round matchups, X-Ray Lowe, who we have actually 3rd in the state. X-Ray's just slowly climbed up those rankings throughout the year, and I think him getting into the regional finals helps him immensely. But he's going to be making his first trip to the state tournament for Johnstown. He's got Xavier Molnar from Brookville. You'll probably remember him. He's the one with the big mullet. Big curly mullet from Brookville. You can't miss him. That's a great matchup in the first round. And on the bottom half, Noah Fleshman, Ivan Balavaj from Scranton Prep. I mean, just a lot of tough guys here. One of the other ones I have circled is Jerry Moore from Blairsville, 4th in the state, going against Jacob McMaster from Greenville, 6th in the state in the first round. And the winner there likely to have Gavin Hoffman.
Yeah, Jerry Moore's a guy that he actually beat Exree Lowe early in the season, and then Lowe has beaten him. I know he beat him at District 6, and I think he beat him again at the Southwest region. So Moore, definitely a guy that's right up there, though.
So are you going with Hoffman and Walters in the finals?
Yes.
And who do you like in that?
Hoffman.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Hoffman's has a little bit better frame for 195 than Walters. Walters is a tank, but
he certainly is a tank.
And he can keep it close with anybody. We saw that throughout the year. He's battle tested. That McCourt schedule was very, very tough. But I think Gavin's. I like Gavin. So these are two of the top juniors in the state. Both are state medalists. They were state medalists their freshman year. So I definitely expect to see them in the finals. Going up to 220. Looking at the bracket here, Cole Nye, returning state champion. He was down at 195 for most of the season until the postseason, individual postseason started. He's back up at 220 where he won a state title. And we could see another rematch of the state finals with Josiah Jones on the bottom half.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Could be a potential rematch there between Jones and Nye.
Yeah, I think so. And Nye comes in ranked second in the state. Josiah Jones is number one in the state. And you may ask, well, why is that? And I think there's a variety of reasons why you can go with Josiah Jones. It's just the fact that he's wrestled 220 the entire season, while as in Nye was down at 95. Wrestled more of that stronger, faster paced guys, but it's as he knows, it's a different style up at 220. And Josiah Jones is really good at slowing the pace down, and when he's on. So, but guys like one of the matchups that I have starred, circled, and highlighted is Tyler Cook from Brookville versus Bishop McCoy from Southside Beaver. Cook comes in fifth, and McCoy's eighth in the state. Both these guys are juniors. I think the winner of that actually gets into the semifinals.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I had that one as well. We went through and kind of marked matches that we were looking up in the first round, and that was the one that jumped out at me here. Tyler Cook, Bishop McCoy. I think Cook probably wins it, but you're right. It wouldn't surprise me to see him or the winner of that one then facing Cole Nye in the semis.
The dark horse, and I say that when I laugh because he's not a dark horse whatsoever, but is Blake Reynolds from Greenville. This is a guy who just literally got back into the lineup, I think like the day before sectionals, I think was the first time he weighed in. He's 10-0. He's only wrestled in the postseason, but Blake Reynolds is a guy who was a two-time state medalist going to Lock Haven. He was eighth in the state as a sophomore. Last year, he was fourth in the state. So this guy's, we know he's talented. The question is, how is he health-wise? How is that injury? I believe it was a knee injury. So how is he doing health-wise? He's the second seed to Cole Nye. He's on that bottom half with Josiah Jones. So, I mean, can he potentially get into the finals?
And the other thing you have to worry about is the gas tank. Whenever you've had that limited of a season, are you going to be in the shape that these other guys are that have been wrestling 30, 40 matches?
Yeah, another returning state medalist here is from Saucon Valley is a senior, Devin Fontanes from Saucon. He's 37-4 in the season, lost to Cole Nye in the regional finals, but he comes in ranked number 4th in the state. He's going to have a tough first-round match with Jarrett Walters from Danville. So definitely 220. I would say, Cole Nye beat Josiah Jones in ultimate tiebreaker, I think, or at least tiebreaker last year. So I definitely see if that's going to happen. Whoever wins this is probably going to win in tiebreaker again.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'd go with a rematch from last year. And unfortunately, Josiah Jones just hasn't been able to get over that hump. He went, if you remember in Powerade, with Noah Adams, went, I believe, to ultimate tiebreaker. I mean, he can get there. He just hasn't shown the ability to do what he needs to in that ultimate tiebreaker yet to win a big title.
Yeah, I hear that. And Cole Nye, I mean, it's hard to go against him being, having won that state championship before. So it'd be fun to watch. 285, definitely. I mean, this is a year of the heavyweight for me, man. I love the heavyweight brackets this year. They're just so. I mean, not that they weren't in the last couple of years, but this year especially, I look at 285 in Double-A and I think, my gosh, this is the top half here. Danny Scheib from Tri-Valley was a state medalist his freshman year. He's a junior now. He's injured last year. Nick Winfield from Southern Huntington comes in 7th in the state. Dawson Otis from Wyalusing, he's on the top half. Evan Sweezy, Freedom, he's on the top half. Cole Rickert, not too shabby, 2-time state medalist, he's on the top half. I mean, really, the top half, whoever gets out of there, they've really earned it.
They have, and that's why it's kind of interesting to look at the rankings and see Scheib number 1. I mean, whoever gets out of there, you can look at it two ways. Either they're going to be battle tested, or they're going to be so worn down from those 3 grueling matches just to get there. It's going to be tough to deal with who comes out of the bottom half of the bracket.
Yeah, if I'm Toby Cahill, I'm pretty happy sitting on that bottom half, not taking away from any of those guys, but I think his toughest competition is Garrett Kiefer from Line Mountain, who's very tough. But Toby Cahill's wrestling great right now. Just again, I think he's been in the gym 9 times since we started this podcast. But seriously, he's a guy who could come out and surprise a lot of people. Maybe he comes in a little bit fresher if he makes it to the finals than whoever comes out from the top half, who's just in a gauntlet of top wrestlers in the state. So who do you like here, Eric?
Man, after seeing Toby Cahill at the regionals, it's tough to go against him. I think I got to take him. I like the fact that he grew up as a lighter wrestler and kind of grew into heavyweight, where he was wrestling a different style maybe when he was younger, and still has that offense and that mentality to go out there and score points. Whereas sometimes other bigger guys that have wrestled the weight their whole lives are a little more reliant on the ties and pushing. So I got to go with Cahill here.
I hate to do this, but I agree with you, Eric. I think Cahill's poised to get a state championship. But I like Cole Rickert on the top half. I think Cole Rickert is a guy who's been to Hershey. He's been on the medal stand twice before. It's his first time up at 285, but since he's been back from his injury, he's looked great. So I think Cole's could come out from the top there, but Cahill, I think, may have the edge in the size department. But again, very, very exciting bracket for 285. Throughout all of Double-A, a lot of excitement. There's not a whole lot of gimmies. There's not, other than you look at, 126, Teasdale's, again, unless a fluke happens, he's going to win that championship. But a lot of the weights, top 4 or 5 guys, it's anyone's championship for the taking.
Yeah, as we talked about through so many of these, I mean, the semifinals are going to be outstanding. Some of them you get really good quarterfinals, and a few of them, I mean, they're really good first round and even pigtail matches.
Yeah, I agree with you, Eric. Well, let's talk with one of those guys who we really harped on, and that's Cole Matthews from Reynolds. Cole is going to be joining us here in a second. He was a state champion as a freshman, a third-place finisher last year as a sophomore, and now a junior. He's looking to get back on top of the podium, but he and Max Spearin, as we talked about, are really going to put on a show, hopefully. So, let's get Cole on. Joining us now, special guest Cole Matthews. You're getting ready to make that trip out to Hershey for the third time in your career. Cole, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I've been practicing all year for this, and I think our team's ready, and we're ready to be competing down at the state tournament.
Now, this has to be special for you. You've had so much success at the Giant Center, not only as an individual but as a team. Reynolds this year had a great team tournament. You guys were able to come away with that state championship. Does that sort of help you propel onto that state level? You've been to the Giant Center a couple weeks ago. You won the state championship. Does that give you a little bit added motivation to go and get your state championship?
Oh, it feels great. Our whole team just feels comfortable in the arena, and we know how we can compete as a team, which gives us a lot more motivation moving on every round. But, yeah, the comfort, just the way to be comfortable in there feels great.
Now, Cole, you've had success here before on the individual level. You won a state championship here as a freshman. Last year, you came up in third in that loaded, crazy bracket. Talk about just wrestling in such a loaded bracket where you had guys like Brian Courtney, Max Murin, and just what was that experience like for you?
It was tough, but I think it helped me become a better wrestler for sure, knowing that they train just as hard as you do all year for the same goal, which is to win a state title. But besides the fact of that loaded bracket, I'm really looking forward to going right at Max Murin this year.
Now, Cole,
that's an interesting take, Cole. Yeah, you got another tough one. You get another state champion and Max Murin in there in the bracket again. But you're excited for that challenge and looking forward to facing him.
Yeah, I've been preparing for him for weeks now. I think I'm going to be pretty solid against him.
It's interesting, Cole, because you guys were both state champions 2 years ago. He was a little bit, and that's kind of interesting because, just how you guys have both grown into two of the top wrestlers in the state and the nation. Mm-hmm. You've had success this year. You were Ironman runner-up, PowerA champion. Talk about just that grind of the season so far. You said you've been preparing for this for 2 weeks, but in reality, you've been grinding it out for the last couple of months now, right?
Yes, sir. I think the practice room plays a big part in it. I have 4 guys around my weight that are also going to states, and they want the same goal I do, is to win a state title. And just practicing hard every day, keeping you on your toes, actually, it helps us to be ready for tournaments like the big one this weekend, and even tournaments like Powerade and Ironman, where you see guys you've never seen before, and they just get you ready for all them different styles.
And talking about styles, Cole, your style is a little unique, I would say. You can scramble with the best of them. I remember Eric and I were talking after the Ironman. You were in some of the craziest scrambles I've seen, and Don Schaefer and I both were commenting on how you can be. It's like, well, yeah, Cole's going to get taken down. Oh wait, no, he's taking him down. What is it about? Like, I mean, do you enjoy sort of wrestling like that kind of scrambling style?
Yeah, that's the best part about the sport, actually. I don't know. I don't have much to say about scrambling, but it's just comes natural to me.
You do your talking on the mat, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I want to know though, Cole. I want to know, Cole. Whenever you watch that scramble at the Ironman, I mean, when I watch it, I still can't figure out, how that scramble went as long as it did. Do you amaze yourself sometimes when you look at the video and say, "Wow, how did I not get taken down there?"
Yeah, I do actually. I don't think about time at all. I don't like being taken down, so I don't want people to take me down.
I think that's probably one of the biggest things is, you're so hard to take down, but not only are you hard to take down, but you end up getting scoring opportunities out of that. That obviously helps you out in a big way. Talk about just in going back to the Giants Center, with your team. You had Bo Bayless. You said he's coming over. You're sort of like a leader on the team now. You're a junior. You got to keep an eye on Bo, right?
Yeah, he's my little man.
He's your little man.
You keep him in line. Keep his head straight.
Keep his head straight. Keep his weight down. I mean, Bo's having a great year down at 106. Just talk about Bo a little bit and how he's been able to do so well.
Bo's progressively got better over the year. He's made a lot of strides since last year. Just feeling himself out as a wrestler and top, bottom, neutral, anything. But yeah, he's definitely made a lot of strides with his practice partners like Adam Wilcox and Andrew Isco, and his older brother Gage, who's a very good leader on our team. Just helping Bo get to where he is now and going to be competing for a state title.
Now, Cole, do you feel comfortable in that role as leader? I mean, you've sort of been a leader on this team for a while. It seems like, you had your brother before you, but even when you're a freshman, you're out there sort of the one like joking around, getting guys, calmed down. I can remember you as a freshman, like rubbing Gene Ringer's shoulders and telling him like, hey, you're going to be all right. Just go out there and have a good time. But, here you are, a 14, 15-year-old kid, and you're like, you just have fun. How do you have that kind of attitude and mentality where you just look like you're always having fun?
Well, it's more of a team thing, but I don't like to think of it as a leader. I like to think of it as just being a good teammate for everybody. When somebody's got their head down, I mean, you don't want to see that happen to you and nobody pick you up. So I like to be the guy to just walk over, give you a pat on the back, tell you you'll be all right, and just keep grinding.
Is that something that Is that something that you at Reynolds is just kind of ingrained in you? I mean, I can't imagine what it's growing up there, the wrestling history that you guys have. Just talk about what it's like to be a part of that Reynolds program and just such a wrestling atmosphere like that.
There's no feeling for it, honestly, but yeah, it's definitely been ingrained in us since we were young. And the history behind it just makes it even better, just setting new records like we have this year. We set 3 records, I think, and it just feels good to be a part of the history of the team.
Now, Cole, what are you looking forward to most going to Hershey? What's your favorite? Do you have like a tradition that you like to do at Hershey? You've been there so many times. Is there something special that you like to do?
I like to win. I think that's what I'm looking forward to.
You like to win?
I want to win. I like to see my teammates win. I like to win. We just want to win.
I love the attitude, and you seem relaxed and you seem ready to go. You have the challenges ahead of you. Let me ask you this, Cole. Have you heard of this freshman Thane Lawrence before? Have you seen him wrestle?
Never heard of the name before, actually.
Cole, you are something else, man. I love it. Yeah. He wrestled Max Murin in the finals of regionals. He was a runner up at regionals. He lost to Max. What was it, Eric? 5-2?
5-1, I think.
5-1. I mean, it just sort of reminds me of when you were a freshman and you came out and grinded and we're looking to knock off some of the top guys and I mean, is it you sort of have a bullseye on your back having the name Cole Matthews, number one, number two, just being a state champion. You don't seem pretty worried about anyone coming for you. You're ready for anybody. Is that correct?
Well, I'm gonna go one match at a time. Definitely, I'll never look ahead to anybody because that would just never be fair against any wrestler. But if he wants to challenge the title chasing, then let him challenge me.
Cole, I love it, brother. I love your attitude. I love the way you go about business, and you're so much fun to watch. So I don't think you're going to disappoint us here in the next couple of days. So we look forward to seeing you, and I hope you get Bo Bayless in line. Get him in line. Keep his head on straight because, like you said,
yes,
there could be a few Reynolds Raiders with gold medals come Saturday night.
We're planning on it.
All right, Cole, we appreciate you giving us your time. I know you're getting ready to go to Hershey. Safe travels to the Giant Center, and we'll be seeing you soon then, okay?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, best of luck, Cole. Want to thank Cole Matthews. Eric, what a funny guy. He's entertaining. My gosh.
He is.
He's made me, one of the funnier guests that we've ever had on the show. I mean, he's a hoot. He's a hoot, I'll tell you what.
It's an interesting combination. He's loose but driven.
Yeah, exactly. He's like really relaxed and really. I mean, I'm not kidding you. When he was a freshman, I remember him. Like all 4'11" of him, standing on his tippy toes, rubbing Gene Ringer, the heavyweight shoulders, like as a freshman, like before his semifinal match. And I'm thinking, like, what? Isn't this supposed to be the other way around? Like the senior, rubbing the freshman shoulders and telling him it's going to be okay. And here's Cole with this smile on his face from ear to ear, and like. Just completely goofy, and but at the same time, like you say, it's driven. He's not afraid to say it either. He knows what he wants and goes after it. So, really appreciate Cole joining us here. But now it's time to go to AAA, Eric. Let's dissect these brackets in AAA and go through and see what stands out to us at 106. Starting off, and this is a wacky weight here. We saw it in the Southwest region. We had some surprises. Curtis Phipps comes out as the champion, but I really like Andrew Siniglia from Nazareth, the freshman from Nazareth, who's one of our top incoming freshmen. I think he is gonna get into the state finals and could possibly win it. Doug Zapp from Downtown West is up there in the top half as a junior. He was a state qualifier a season ago. Anything jump off the page at you right away, Eric, when you see this?
I don't get to see nearly as much AAA as you do, so I'm not quite as well versed in it. So I'm just interested to see, how does Curtis Phipps handle that? He did so well at the Southwest Regional. Can he come out and build on that performance, or is it really difficult? I know a lot of these 106 pounders, you get a lot of freshmen in there, but it's just interesting to see how he handles that atmosphere once he gets there to Hershey.
Yeah, some of the first-round matchups that I'm circling is Darren Miller from Kiski area, who was as high as number 1 in the state, has been top 2 in the state for a number of weeks. He finishes 3rd in the Southwest region after being upset, but he bounces back to finish 3rd. He's a sophomore. He's going to have a really tough first-round match with Luke Lucerne from Council Rock North, who was a runner-up to Doug Zapp in the Southeast region. But this is a guy who, Lucerne, that comes in 4th in the state. Miller drops down to a number 11 after that loss at the regional tournament. So that match right there is a huge one. And the winner could likely face Will Bencourt from Manheim Central, who really impressed me at the regional tournament.
Yeah, I know I asked you before about off the air. We were talking about guys that didn't win a regional title that might be able to win a state title. Do you see that as a possibility here?
You know, I not necessarily. I think you're going to see a championship either from Andrew Sniglia, Doug Zapp, Will Bencourt. I think those are your 3 top guys here. But you could see some. A guy like Ryan Sullivan. I like the way he wrestled at the regional tournament. He's got a tough first round matchup with Nick Onia from Pottsville. So Nick is a sophomore who comes in, very talented. He almost beat Andrew Sniglia in their District 11 finals match. Andrew was able to bounce back and finish strong. So really, the bottom half, I like Will Bencourt coming out from there. Just seeing him in person at the South Central Regional, he looked just really good. Beat a really tough Cole Wilson, and but I think Cerniglia, I think that Nazareth room is you're going to start seeing that pay off here with guys like him and Sean Pearson. But I like Cerniglia to win it. Bencourt runner up.
Okay, moving on to 113. I know you had tweeted about this earlier, this bracket, and just how brutal it is.
My God, I think I said, OMG, the top half of 113 is insane, and it really is. I mean, you look at a guy like Matt Wilde from Boyertown. He's a senior, very, very battle-tested guy. Boyertown wrestles one of the toughest schedules there is. He comes in number 4 in the state. But then you got Lewis Newell from Seneca Valley, who took Sammy Hilligus to overtime. It was the closest match that they've had this year. It was the 3rd time he lost to Hilligus. But Newell was a state runner-up last year. At the beginning of the season, I thought he was wrestling the best I've ever seen out of him. And he's a guy who I fully expect to get back into the finals. I mean, you're going to look at me like I'm crazy because, he's got Ralphio Pertilla from Carlisle in the first round. He's got Matt Wilde. I could see Sean Pearson or Ed Scott. But I think he's been to the finals before. He's a 2-time state medalist. But Sammy Hilligus from North Hills, he was one of our top income freshmen. He was number 2 on our top incoming freshman list for a reason. He's really, really good.
Yeah, it's for me, I'm interested to see even a first-round matchup here. You've got Jacob Dunlop of Bell Vernon in the Pigtails. Assuming he gets out of there, you're going to get him and Ed Scott of DuBois, the freshman, in the first round. I mean, to me, that's a really intriguing matchup. The experience of Jacob Dunlop against the young talent of Ed Scott. Really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I've said this before. Jacob Dunlop's one of the most consistent wrestlers over the last couple of years that I've seen. He's just very, very consistent. And Ed Scott, as you saw over the weekend, he came away with a huge win, beating Gio Barzano from Central Mountain. Scott is one of the toughest freshmen there is out there. Trains with the Young Guns Wrestling Club. Another first-round matchup, Sean Pearson from Nazareth. Northeast Regional Champion going against Dalton Rawball from Spring Grove. Spring Grove from South Central Regional. Dalton was a 3rd-place finisher in states last year. 3rd-place finisher in states, and he's get Sean Pearson's a regional champion who won a very, very tough Northeast Regional Championship. So you look at Pearson comes in number 5 in the state. Rawball comes in at 9. You got to like that matchup early on. Again, Lewis Newell, Matt Wilde, Ed Scott, Jacob Dunlop, all in the top half. Bottom half doesn't get a whole lot easier. Sammy Hilligus, you got Gio Barzano from Central Mountain, who's a 2-time state medalist. Cameron Enriquez from Stroudsburg, who won a District 11 championship, then lost to Pearson in the finals. He's only got 2 losses on the season. J.J. Wilson, who upset Dalton Rawball in the South Central Regional Championship finals. And Brandon Meredith from Springford. He knocked off some big names last year. He ended up finishing on the podium, and he's in the pigtails.
So who are you taking? The bull?
Yeah, I'm taking Sammy Hilligus to win this championship. I just think that he's just very well experienced for a freshman. I just think that he's got that goal in mind, and I don't think anything's going to deter him from that. Even in that match with Lewis Newell in the Southwest Regional, he was in control of that match. I thought he was pushed, but I don't see him faltering here. I do think he gets a championship. I think it's a Southwest Regional Finals rematch. I think him and Newell are going to wrestle again, but I'm not too confident in that because there's so many different things that could happen here.
Yeah, that top half, as you said, you could pick just about anybody in there and they have a chance, and you could make a realistic case for them making it out of there.
120, a lot of firepower here as well. Julian Klebo from Northampton. He was a returning state champion from Northampton, won it last year. He was our top incoming freshman a season ago. But this could be another rematch from a season ago. Matty Parker from Penridge, 33-2 on the season. Parker's done a lot in his career. He was a state runner-up last year to Klebo. I fully expect to see Klebo and Parker meet for the second time in 2 years.
Yeah, I would think that's probably the odds-on favorite, but still some good depth here. Logan Macri from Cannon McMillan could be a quarterfinal matchup for Klebo. You've got Zurich Storm from New Oxford in the top half of the bracket. Vincent DeStefanis of Hempfield in the bottom. So definitely some depth there that certainly could test some guys early on.
Yeah, I agree with you, Eric. And DeStefanis from Hempfield had one of the biggest tournaments of his career, if not the biggest, when he defeated Logan Macri in the Southwest Regional Finals at 120 pounds, because Macri was just wrestling very, very tough throughout the season, making it to the Powerade Finals. But DeStefanis really took it to him. But he's in a tough side. Luke Werner from Liberty, he's a state medalist. He was a runner-up to Klebo. You got Chris Wright, who's a two-time state medalist on the bottom half. Zach Glenn from Bethlehem Catholic, he was fifth last year in the state. He's in the pigtail, so if he wins his match, he's going to see Matty Parker. So, and Zurich Storm impressed me throughout the season and in the South Central Regional Finals. A guy like Colton Camacho from Franklin Regional. Let's not sleep on this guy. He was injured early last year. He ended a season early. This year, he's pretty much owned Vincent DeStefanis up until the regional tournament, so he really could have been sitting where Vincent DeStefanis is.
Well, and that's one that I had marked as a potential first-round matchup is Camacho and Storm. That's a pretty tough first-round matchup for Zurich Storm, a guy that's a regional champ.
I think whoever he gets, either it's Patrick Noonan from Stroudsburg or Camacho from Franklin Regional, I think either one of those is a very tough match. I'm not sleeping on Patrick Noonan whatsoever, the freshman from Stroudsburg, very accomplished youth wrestler, coming out of a very strong Northeast region, which, Julian Klebo, Luke Werner, Zach Glenn, just so many top guys here from the Northeast region. And again, throw in Logan Macri, Luke Resnick, David Campbell, one of the second half of the Campbell twins here. Just a lot of depth, and I think Klebo and Parker are on a collision course again, but these top 8 here are going to be really, really impressive.
So who's your pick to win it?
I'm going with Klebo over Parker.
Okay.
Now, the next weight, this is a true toss-up here. 126. We could talk for a couple more minutes, I guess, about this weight, but a lot of anticipation here with Spencer Lee going to looking to be the 13th person in Pennsylvania wrestling history to win 4 state championships in a row, and in doing so, he would be undefeated in his career, which is a pretty impressive feat considering the trials and tribulations Spencer's been through in his career. But we could see this could be the second rematch in a row that we see from a season ago. Austin Asano drops down to 126 from 132, where he's 49-0. He was 50-0 last year coming into the state tournament, and he ended up getting tech falled by Spencer in the finals.
Yeah, but you know what? That's admirable that the guy wants to go out and get the best competition. And you're not going to get any bigger competition, any better competition than Spencer Lee. And nobody expects you to go out there and beat him. So, what do you have to lose? Go out there, give it all you got, and say, hey, I took my shot at the best.
Yeah, I agree with you, Eric, and I think it's admirable that he does that. He's because he was ranked number 1 in the state at 132, so I think it's good for him. I do see Spencer coming away with his 4th state title here. It's hard to stop the train that is Spencer Lee. It's not saying it's going to be easy because it's not. He's gonna have to wrestle hard like he has been for the last 3 years. And you look at 26, I would say this could make the case for the strongest bracket of the AAA. Just if you look at the level of talent outside of Spencer Lee as well, just having so many guys that have previously been on the medal stand. You look at Chandler Olson, 3-time state medalist, was a runner-up to DeSanto. He's got Ryan Anderson in the first round. That's a huge first-round matchup. Ryan Anderson from Becca. This is his first time at the state tournament. He didn't make weight last year in the postseason, but he won a very tough Northeast region. He's got Chandler Olson in the first round. That's a hammer matchup right to start off.
Yeah, that's some perk for winning your region, huh? You get right. Chandler Olson in the first round.
Yeah, right. And then on the bottom half, Noah Levitt from Kiski, who's been one of the top guys in the state. He beat Ryan Anderson this year. He beat Jake Sherry this year. And then, obviously with Austin down there, Noah Myers from Mifflin County was a state medalist a season ago. Just a lot of really talented guys here. And Patrick Gould from East Stroudsburg South, he was a state medalist last year at 106. He's bumped up to 126 for this year. But if he wins his first round match, he's going to get Jacob Campbell from Boyertown, who himself is a 2-time state medalist.
Yeah, just crazy stuff here. I mean, it's not enough to have Spencer Lee in it, but then you have that kind of depth with DeSanto too, and then it just rolls on from there.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and we have a chance to watch history being made at 126, 132. A lot of question marks here at 132, and after this regional tournament, because KJ Fenstermacher really stepped up. KJ Fenstermacher is the giant killer. He beats Brian Courtney in the finals of Escape the Rock. He beats Jimmy Hoffman from Hazleton in the finals of the regional tournament, pins him in sudden victory. KJ Fenstermacher's wrestling really well as of late. It's going to be hard to stop him.
So is he the favorite here? I mean, you've got CJ Manley on the top. You've got Jimmy Hoffman there. You've got Zach Trampe in the bottom half. I mean, a lot of depth here as well.
I agree with you. I mean, you got guys like Zach Trampe, who was a state runner-up 2 years ago. You have KJ Fenstermacher, 3rd in the state. You have Jimmy Hoffman, state runner-up. Jimmy Hoffman pinned Zach Trampe this year. Cole Manley, state runner-up, state 3rd last year. A lot of guys here who have finished very, very close to a state championship, but haven't necessarily got it yet. And one of those guys is going to come away with their state championship. So quite a number of state runner-ups here and state medalists like Hunter Baxter, Andrew Wirt. You got Caleb Morris, Wyatt Long, Luke Landefeld. Guys like freshman Cameron Robinson, sophomore Tommy Traver, Job Chisco, state medalist, freshman TJ Elijah, TT Elijah. Just a lot. This is one where I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, man, this is about 4 or 5 guys that legitimately have a shot to win a state championship.
All right, so you're on the spot. Who's in the finals? Who wins it?
Cole Manley's been wrestling very, very well as of late, but so is KJ Fenstermacher. So, man, I don't know. I'm going to go with Cole Manley. I'm just going to go with Cole Manley. I'm not going to justify why. I'm just going to go with him.
All right, fair enough.
And KJ Fenstermacher, and I don't know. Man, you ask me tomorrow, and it's going to be Caleb Morris. I don't know. You ask me. It's just I overanalyze all this stuff. You know what I mean? But I don't know how Jimmy bounces back from that loss to Fenstermacher. Fenstermacher lost to Andrew Wirt this year, but he also beat him. He could see him in the quarterfinals, but then again, Hunter Baxter's there. I'm overwhelmed, Eric. 132 is that bracket that just makes my brain want to explode.
A lot of these guys have been guests of the show too.
Have they?
Yeah.
Like who?
We had KJ Fenstermacher on.
Yeah. We had Fenstermacher.
We had Jimmy Hoffman on.
We had Cole
talked
Manley.
to Cole Manley on before the season started.
Yeah, you're right. We got
a lot of show favorites. That's why you're so torn, Jeff.
Maybe that's that subliminal messaging there in my brain. All right, let's go up to 138 where the matchup that we talked about last year was Sammy Sasso and Luke Pletcher in the quarterfinals. Part of the reason why we're doing some of the seeding that we are this year, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But Sammy Sasso, undefeated on the season, 35-0, one of the top guys in the nation at 138. I love his chances here of getting his first state championship.
Yeah, it's hard to see. I mean, Luke Kemmer pretty solid in the bottom half, but I'm just not sure that anybody's in that same league as Sasso right now.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is right now, and I don't think Sammy's going to have a problem getting to the state finals. I could see him getting, it could be pretty ugly in that first three matches for him, getting to the state finals where he was as a freshman when he was beat by Spencer Lee. On the bottom half, though, a lot of depth here. Colin Cronin from Upper Darby, 35-1 on the season, state medalist. You got Danny Moran, former state runner-up from Northampton, Nathan Schwartz from Hollidaysburg, Luke Kemmer, who was third last year in the state. So the bottom half is truly where I think we're going to see a lot of good competition.
Who are you taking out of there?
I'm taking Kemmerer, but not by a whole lot, because Colin Cronin and Danny Moran, I think, are definitely in the mix. Kemmerer, I think he's able to slow down matches and really, really control matches. So, I'll go with Kemmerer, but I think Sasso's not going to have a problem winning this bracket.
And that Cronin Moran one could be a really interesting quarterfinal.
Yeah, it could. I saw Danny. I've saw Danny a couple times this year, but he had a loss at the Save the Rock that he probably shouldn't have taken. And 38's just been a funky weight class this year. A lot of weird things have happened, but it's Sammy Sasso's for the taking. So we'll see how that pans out. Going up to 145. This is where I thought the seeding of the regional champions fell apart because a guy like Jared Verkleeren, who did not compete in the postseason last year because he was of that whole eligibility thing, he's punished for that because he gets what is effectively the fourth seed, and he's on the top half with state runner-up Brock Wilson, even though Verkleeren was a fourth-place finisher as a sophomore 2 years ago.
That's one of the difficult things whenever you try to stick to a certain set of numbers and rules that you want to be hard and fast, and then you get a case like Verkleeren that kind of blows that up, and you say, well, wait a minute, our mind tells us that he shouldn't be the fourth seed here, but the numbers tell us that he should.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it's better than the quarterfinals, and you can make the case that Brock Port is a clear number two, being undefeated on the season, 36-0, is a two-time state medalist. But Verkleeren, it's just hard to say why he's a fourth seed. But regardless, Brock Wilson, state runner-up last year from Nazareth, he's at the top spot. Jared Verkleeren, and there's a guy who I'm going to keep a close eye on. That's a freshman from Bald Eagle area, Gage McClanahan. He lost to Port 1-0 in the regional finals, and he's a pretty stout freshman. Yeah,
he looked pretty good. I was there for that. Pushed Port. I'm not sure, if he can beat him, but right there with him, as you said, in a 1-0 match.
And you look at the bottom half, there's just so much talent there. Riley Palmer, Jake Hinkson, Joey Bloomer, Brock Port, even a guy like William Evinsky from Scranton, who has some quality wins. He has a win over Todd Lane this year. That first round match against Hinkson and Evinsky is going to be a heck of a match. He's a really good scrambler. But I think Port comes out from the bottom part there. I don't know. Actually, I'm just looking. I mean, Riley Palmer, Jake Hinkson. Riley Palmer and Jake Hinkson have some history. They've wrestled a lot over the last couple of years. I think Verkleeren's a favorite, though. I think Verkleeren is the favorite here at 145. Eric, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Verkleeren has so much experience even without that, what he's done internationally, that it's hard to go against him. I would think that you're right. He's probably the favorite there. But you're right, that bottom half is kind of tricky between Riley Palmer and Brock Port. Like I said, I leave most of the AAA stuff in your capable hands, so I'll beg off on this one and let you make the pick.
All right. Well, I mean, I feel like I'm not giving Brock Wilson enough credit. Like, Brock Wilson is a very, very good wrestler, and I don't want to say that he's not the favorite because Verkleeren is there, but I like the way Verk's been wrestling this year, and I think he's been wanting this state title for a very long time. Not saying Wilson hasn't, but I think he sort of has a chip on his shoulder after last year, so I think that's just added motivation. But we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out. Going up to 152, one of my favorite guys in the universe, and that's Cam Coy. I love this kid. He's a great guy on and off the mat. Cam's the top seed here at 34-0, a two-time state champion, was a state champion as a freshman, as a junior, and I don't see him really getting tested at all at 152.
No, it looks like it's his bracket to win. What do you see in the bottom half of it?
I mean, a guy like Garrett Nyhouse from Cannon Mac, who just has done a lot this year in his freshman year. But Kar Staraki from Cathedral Prep, who is a sophomore himself, and they've had some history there between those two. Staraki is a returning state medalist. Did push Cam Coy at the PowerAid tournament, but there's also a guy here that people tend to overlook. I don't know if it's because he's from the Southeast region, but that's Chase Stevens from Coatesville. This guy's a returning state medalist, 37-1 on the season. And, he's a guy that you shouldn't sleep on. He could end up getting into the finals and facing Coy. But really the bottom half, there's a lot of talent there with Nyhouse. Even Will Caldees, now a four-time state qualifier. But Cam Coy is obviously the favorite here. So I'd say it's Cam Coy winning this. I'll go with Chase Stevens.
Okay. I thought you were going to lean Nyhouse there, but
yeah, I mean,
it's interesting because, a guy like me, I don't get to see Chase Stevens at all, so I don't know too much about him. I mean, I can see the record, but when you haven't seen him firsthand, a lot of times you tend to overlook him. So it'll be interesting to get there and get a chance to see him in person.
Yeah, I mean, he's a solid wrestler. He's experienced. He's I've seen him a couple times throughout the years, and I'm not taking anything away from Garrett Nyhouse. I'm just saying I think maybe him and Staraki are going to beat each other up a little bit if they do see each other. And you can't sleep on Will Caldees either. Will Caldees is a pretty sharp wrestler in his own right. So it's going to be fun, but again, clear favorite here is Cam Coy.
Okay, moving on to 160. This is an interesting one to me. You got a couple top half. You've got Trent Hidley, who is probably your favorite, but then you throw Eric Hong into the mix, his first time in PIAA, and see how he can do.
Yeah, Eric Hong gets the 5th seed here because that makes a lot of sense. But I understand that he's never wrestled in a PIAA tournament before. He's a national prep guy prior to this. He's got a tough first-round match with Ryan Resnick from O&J Roberts, who they wrestled in the Escape the Rock. Hong did win that. Hong's undefeated on the year, 29-0. He won the Escape the Rock tournament. He won regionals last week over Zach Hartman. But Trent Hidley, Mifflin County guy, as a junior, younger brother of Hayden. I wasn't surprised that he dropped to 160, but he was a big 170-pounder. So. This is going to be if it happens, this is going to be a really good matchup between Hong and Hidley, two sort of similar styles. They're both aggressive on their feet, but I like Hidley. I don't know. He pushed Caleb Young last year. I thought he was close to nearly knocking him off, and I think he's poised for a state championship. He's been to Hershey before. This will be Hong's first time wrestling as an individual in the Giant Center. So.
Do you think that makes a difference for a guy like Hong, who's been? I've never been to the prep nationals, but is it going to be a different atmosphere?
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely, it is. I think. I mean, I've been to the prep nationals before at Lehigh, and I think it's absolutely a different atmosphere, especially when you're talking about the level of talent. Not that he hasn't faced that talent in the national preps, but just. Guys, especially that people forget that Hong, grew up wrestling these guys as a youth. I mean, Hong was a 5-time PJW state champion, so he's wrestled a lot of these guys before being successful. So, but this is the first time he's actually getting a chance to face some of these guys since he was a youth. So, I think Hong and Hidley both advance in the semifinals on the top half. On the bottom half is a little bit more. There's a lot more question marks. Jonah Barley from. Definitely a guy who was a medalist last year and I think has been consistent throughout the year. But then you have Dejan Casto from Cathedral Prep who, he dropped a tough match to Hidley in the regional finals. And then Josh Stillings. This is a guy who was a runner-up to Hong at the Escape the Rock finals.
Yeah, who are you taking out of the bottom half here?
I'm going to take Josh Stillings. I like Josh a lot. I think he's just a technically sound wrestler. I think he is able to get through, and I believe he's probably going to have Hartman in a rematch of the Escape the Rock semifinals, and then he's either going to have Barley or Casto, and I think he wins that. So, but I think Hidley is your favorite, and Hong's the finals is most likely going to be that semifinals between Hidley and Hong.
Okay. Move on to 170. Pretty clear favorite, I would think, here.
Yeah, this is behind Spencer Lee and Cameron Coy. I mean, I would even put Labriola and Cameron Coy on the same level. But Labriola is just, he impresses me every time I watch him. I mean, he's just such a good wrestler. I mean, never is in a bad position. Never. I think he's going to be a great college wrestler. I don't want to jinx him, but I think he's going to be a heck of a college wrestler. He just has that style where he can grind people down. He's just so good on his feet. He's so strong. And I don't see him getting even closely touched at the state tournament here. He's leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the field here.
Bottom half of the bracket, which essentially, like we said, we're probably fighting for second place here. Luke McGonigal, number 1 out of Northwest. Tim Wallace, number 1 out of Southwest. You like either of those or somebody else coming out of the bottom half?
I like Tim Wallace. Impressed me this past weekend at the Southwest region. He impressed me at PIAA as well. He pushed Trent Hidley. He almost beat him. But he could have a tough matchup with Cade Moisey, a returning state qualifier. He has a pigtail round match. Moisey was upset by Xavier Barber from Dallas area, who's a senior making his first trip to the state tournament. So, Luke McGonigal, he's been to states before. He's a junior now. He's a 2-time state qualifier prior to. I like Tim Wallace coming out of the bottom half, but that's not a very confident pick there because I think anywhere from Luke McGonigal, Xavier Barber, Cade Moisey, any of those could pull some upsets. But clearly the favorite here is Mikey Labriola.
All right, moving on to 182. A couple more guys. You would think Nino Bonacorsi is so good, you would say, okay, he's a clear favorite. But then you look at the weight class. You've got Travis Stefanik. You've got Drew Peck in the bottom half. I mean, this is a heck of a weight class. Yeah,
and I mean, Bonacorsi, if he's going to win a state title, he's going to have to earn it because he's going to have to get through some really tough guys. And Travis Stefanik from Nazareth, really, really, really good wrestler. Very, very solid from his feet. We saw him at the team states, and I saw him at Ironman this year. Just a very, very strong wrestler. Really filled into 182 nicely. But Nino's a little bit quicker, I think, on his feet, and he's able to frustrate you with his head fakes and tying up the arms. And we saw him grind out that match at Powered against Mulligan. But it's not going to be easy. And of course, you throw in a guy like Drew Peck, who was a state medalist a year ago, finished 4th. But Peck, actually, the dark horse here is a guy from State College. He's a sophomore, Cole Urbis from State College. She's 28-0 in the season as a sophomore. He upset Drew Peck earlier this year in a dual meet. So this is a guy who was not on the radar of a lot of people, being only a sophomore without any real experience on the state level. And, he's undefeated. And I'd like to see, I haven't seen him this year yet.
I got to see him last week at the Northwest, and he's really long and lean. He had Jake Paulson from Erie McDowell in the final last week, and it was such a contrast in styles because Jake Paulson is short and stocky,
yeah.
and Urbis is just tall and just caused all kinds of problems for him.
Yeah, so he's similar to Drew Peck, and Drew's a little bit longer as well. So that's probably why that he was able to get that upset. So, I think Nino, he was a state runner-up last year to Mikey Labriola. He's ready and primed for a state championship run. He's not looking for anything other than a state championship, but he's going to have his hands full. Travis Stefanik he's no easy out. He's a tough guy.
Yeah, these were both Flow national champs last year.
Yeah, exactly. Both Flow national champions, both Division I recruits. Nino going to Pitt, Stefanik going to Princeton. So yeah, it's going to be fun, and they're going to have to earn it. But the top four here are really tough.
All right, moving on to 195. Another guy here in Jake Woodley from North Allegheny that is really, really good. But then you throw in a Miles Lee from South Philadelphia, Ethan Laird from General McLean in the bottom half. So some interesting stuff here as well.
I'm not as interested in this weight because Woodley is just he's really starting to separate himself from the rest of the field, not taking away from any of these guys here. Ethan Laird, I think, actually ends up making it to the finals, but I could be so wrong that he loses the first-round matchup if Colin McCracken knocks him off, who's a state medalist himself. Ethan Laird, I saw him at the King of the Mountain. I thought he looked great. You got guys like Eli Grape, who was a two-time state medalist, Miles Lee, very, really good. He's a Fargo All-American guy. Blake Barrick, another one who's making his first trip to the state tournament. But Jake Woodley's, he's leaps and bounds again ahead of the competition, sort of like we've seen with Cam Coy and Labriola. Woodley's really separated himself. He pinned Eli Grape in the Southwest Regional Finals, who's been number 2 in the state for most of the year. He's really good.
So you don't think either Laird or Lee comes out of the bottom there and gives them anything?
No, I think either one of them is going to do well, but I don't. We're talking about a guy who knocked off the number 2 guy ranked in the nation at the Escape the Rock Finals. He's now McCracken. He has trouble with McCracken. He only beat him in overtime this year, but that was at the Beast of the East, and Jake's a different wrestler now. That was when he was. You have to remember. Do you remember we saw him at Super 32 lose to Gavin Hoffman?
I do. Yeah.
And then the way he wrestled Gavin Hoffman at the Powerade Finals, night and day compared to what he was back in October at the Super 32. Night and day. He's now a 95-pounder as opposed to a transition wrestler from 82 to 95. He's a 95-pounder, and he looks great. So I think that you can look at that win over McCracken in overtime and say, yeah, well, they exposed him there, but he's always had a tough time with McCracken. So. But if it's Laird or Miles Lee or Eli Grape or Cole Zapp, whoever comes out of that bottom half, yeah, they're going to give him a match. But I think Woodley's on a different level right now.
Okay, moving on to 220. This one, I got to admit, I don't understand the seating here. Can you explain this to me? I know our rankings, you have Brian Kennerly number 1, which I completely understand. Joe Doyle number 2, Francis Dugan 3. But the top seed here is actually our 5th ranked guy in Evan Callahan of Freedom.
Okay, so you want to understand why this is the way it is?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Evan Callahan placed 4th in the States last year.
Okay.
So he gets the most prestige points. Joe Doyle.
What was Dugan?
Dugan was 6th in the state last year.
Okay.
7th.
Okay.
He was 6th in the state as a freshman, 7th in the state as a sophomore. But Evan Callahan is a state 4th place finisher. So
okay, fair enough. So that explains it.
That explains it. And then you look at Brian Kennerly. Brian Kennerly is a returning state qualifier. He was only a qualifier last year.
Right, but he's really come on since.
No, I mean
the Super 32. Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
But to clarify, so for example, Joey Doyle was fourth in the state last year. We have Joey Doyle second in the state, but he didn't win a region, so he's not seeded, right? So that's why he's where he's at, and Callahan's where he's at. Callahan was injured for most of the season. In fact, his record on the bracket's wrong. He's actually
they have him listed at 35-6 here, and he's actually 13-1.
I was gonna say he's 13-1 in reality. And I don't know how healthy he is, but I like Joey Doyle coming out of the top half. Joey Doyle, as we said, was fourth in the state last year. Has lost to Kennerly twice now, but Kennerly's one of those guys that just surprised the heck out of a lot of people, including myself, when he won that Super 32 championship over Cole Nye, and hasn't looked back since. He's looked very, very tough, winning the King of the Mountain tournament and a really tough Southeast region over Joey Doyle.
Yeah, Kennerly, I remember at the Super 32, I was sitting in the coach's room, and he was a guy that people kept asking me about over and over again, because obviously when you win a Super 32 title, you're going to open some eyes. But he was one that kind of came out of nowhere for that.
Yeah, and let's not forget about Francis Dugan. I thought he looked great in his regional finals against Jesse Yank. So you got him on the bottom half. He could upset Kennerly. He's a two-time state medalist, so he knows what he's doing. Ian Edenfield from Laurel Highlands on the top half, sort of an unknown guy. He's a regional champion, making his first trip to the state tournament, but he's a one-man team. He's the only guy from Laurel Highlands on the team, but he came out and won a tough Southwest region. So definitely the top half, you got Callahan, Doyle, Shields, Edenfield, Ank. Edenfield is going to have his hands full with Jesse Yank in that first-round match. Ank is a returning state medalist, but was runner-up to Dugan, so that's why you get a 1 versus a 2 there. So it's tough sledding for anyone on the top half.
What are you looking at pick-wise?
I'm going with an all-District 1 final, Joey Doyle and Brian Kennerly. Joey Doyle has just impressed me throughout the season. He beat Josiah Jones in the Escape the Rock finals and looked good doing so. But Kennerly's had his number, so I'm going with Kennerly over Doyle in the finals. Eric,
okay,
do you care to comment on that, or?
No, I as I said, I defer to you on most of the AAA matters. I don't get to see a lot of these guys for most of the season. Kennerly certainly was impressive in Super 32, what I've seen of him. I've seen a little bit of Joe Doyle, not in person, but watching online. Obviously, I know Francis Dugan. So I do know a little bit more about this weight class, but I think you're probably spot on with your picks there.
Well, let's go up to heavyweight. And like double-A, heavyweight and triple-A, a lot of fun. A lot of guys here that can make some noise. So at the top half, you got Nico Camacho from Becca. Was a state medalist last year, finished fourth in the state last year, was a region champion. But you got the Furminator, Brandon Furman, from Cannon Mac, who's the Southwest regional champion. He comes in, and he's also on the top half because he's never made it to states before.
But he's got the PA Power socks this year.
Yeah, he does. He reps the PA Power socks. So you look at heavyweight here. Heavyweight's just a massive, and I say that no pun intended, but it's a massive weight class here. Michael Wolfgram from Central York. This is a guy that I've been talking about for a little bit now. From Central York, he's a sophomore. Saw him in the regional finals. Saw him in the regional tournament in South Central. It looked great. I think he could end up getting into the finals here. You got Quan DeBow from Cathedral Prep, returning state medalist. Isaac Reed from Kiski area. He beat Brandon Furman earlier this year, but hasn't been able to figure him out since. But you look at that Furman and Camacho potential matchup in the semifinals. That's arguably the finals.
So in your bottom half of the bracket, Wolfgram or DeBow? Or somebody else.
Or Reed or Masick.
Yeah.
Now I actually have Wolfgram coming out there. Not a very confident pick. I think you have three guys there with Quan DeBow, Isaac Reed, and Michael Wolfgram that are all more than capable of getting to the finals. On the top half, I do. Nico Camacho has a head-to-head win over Furman, so I'm going with Camacho. But those two are neck and neck. Camacho has a win over Seth Janey from Malvern Prep, but lost to him. Brandon Furman beat Seth Janey in the Escape the Rock finals. Furman looked good. He had a little bit of a letdown in this the regional semifinals where he got taken down 3 times and had to come back from that from a guy from West Mifflin, Gerald Brown. So, it is his first time wrestling in the state tournament, so that's why I give the slight advantage to the Camacho. But these are all guys that are neck and neck. The top 4 or 5 guys here, all neck and neck. You look at Camacho, Furman, Reed, and DeBow, and Wolfgram. Those 5 are all very, very close.
And so you're taking Camacho to win it?
I am. But again, that's when you look at on the confidence level of that's any of those top 5 can end up winning this bracket.
Okay. What about team races, Jeff? Who are you looking at in Double A? Reynolds, the favorite there?
I think Reynolds is the absolute favorite here in Double A, and I think Becca is your favorite in Triple A. I think Becca's, they're definitely going to get. They have a lot of qualifiers, and they're going to get a couple big wins. Labriola and Camacho leading that way. Anderson there as well. But you're going to see guys like Jared Papsey win some matches. Ryan Zener win some matches. Kenny Herman from at 113 win some matches.
As far as Double A goes, a team like Bishop McCourt only taking 4 guys. I don't think they have the depth because what you're saying, a team like Reynolds, they're going to get points from guys that aren't in the finals. They're going to have those medalists. But can you see a team like McCourt being top 5 in terms of just taking those 4, but possibly having a couple of finalists in there?
I absolutely can. I can see McCourt and Bishop McDevitt finishing top 5. I could see it being Reynolds at the top, and then really the rest of it is open for discussion. I think Reynolds is at the top just based on their depth, but then you have McDevitt and you have McCourt, who have some very strong wrestlers. I mean, we talked about Caden Cassidy, Nate Smith, Bishop McCourt, Bishop McDevitt, Josiah Jones versus Cole Nye, Bishop McCourt, Bishop McDevitt. A lot of tough guys here. John Pippa, Carnell Andrews, different weights, but similar chances here. So I like Bishop McCourt and Bishop McDevitt both to finish high, but I can't see anyone getting past Reynolds.
All right.
So overall, that was a long preview there, Eric. So I hope people.
It was, but I hope people enjoy it. I mean, this is the time of the year that we wait all season for. So I think hopefully they enjoy it, get a complete breakdown of the brackets, and really a good way to preview what could happen this weekend.
Well, everyone traveling to the Giants Center, please drive safely. We appreciate Cole Matthews coming on. One of the funnier guys that we've had on. Just really, really entertaining guy and on and off the mat. So appreciate Cole Matthews stopping in. If you haven't already done so, go on to PAPowerWrestling.com. Check out the Spencer Lee movie. It's an hour-long look at inside Spencer Lee's life and his quest to win his 3rd World Championship. It's a great movie, especially for the sport of wrestling and persevering through that. Eric, we've got our work cut out for us, and we'll be in Hershey tomorrow.
Yeah, big weekend ahead of us. Can't wait for it.
Tune in to PAPowerWrestling.com. We're going to give you updates. We're going to have brackets. We're going to have predictions. We're going to have rankings. You name it, we have it. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. And if we won't see you in Hershey, follow us along. Thanks for stopping in.